just talk very specifically, and let's just say hypothetically that any one of us may have a goal to generate $10,000 a month gross income. Okay, how to really make that happen? So there has to be a sales process in place. There has to be lead generation. Okay, and then that process where we go from what I like to say a suspect to a prospect to a customer, and then ultimately a raving fan. Statistics say, one stat, an average of 3 to 5% of any given market will be ready to do business with you once they land on your website. Cold traffic. If there's no pre-existing relationship, 3 to 5%. So let's say 100 people came to your website today. On average, 3 to 5% of those people would be ready to buy today. Now, if it takes 2 weeks to get 100 people to our website, then it's easy. It's going to be a little tough, tighter. So how do we get those numbers to work in our behalf? There's something that's called the buyer's journey. Okay? The buyer's journey is this. Before a person makes a buying decision, we go through 3 stages: awareness, consideration, and then we make a decision. Awareness, consideration, and decision. So if someone is moving through those 3 stages, then strategically what we want to do is we want to create a systematic process where we meet and speak to people strategically at each one of those 3 stages in a way that adds value to them, so that at the end of that interaction and engagement, they feel like, Miss Ryan, their name, I'm looking for a name. They think, okay, wow, that was good. You become memorable, and not just memorable, but you're someone that says, you know what, I want to make sure I stay in touch with her. So you gave me a reason to be on your list, so to speak. What's the primary way of doing that? In my industry, internet marketer, just say that broadly, it's giving away education in the form of what's called a lead magnet. It's going to be a PDF, something that really works really, really well. Lead magnets that are easy and fast to consume. Years ago, people would give away ebooks, and oftentimes this was limited to people who did more digital marketing, but it's a great way for any local business owner, like 99% of the time. It's hard for me to find someone who can't use this strategy to really increase, at the end of the day, consistency of cash flow. You can give away insight and understanding that causes me to understand why I should do business with you as opposed to someone else. Okay? So what happens is, again, like I was saying earlier, it's the like, know, and trust factor. Now, main objective in consistency of cash flow is, first of all, clarify monthly income goals and then work backwards. Typically, when I sit down with a business owner and start really asking questions, because in our initial engagement, we're going to have a conversation, and to really help someone move forward, one of my first questions is, okay, what would you like to accomplish, say, in the next 90 days? What type of cash flow growth on a percentage basis, but then also let's talk specifics. What does that end of the number or end of the month gross number need to be? And then we need to work backwards from a selling model. When I say work backwards, here's what I mean. I started out talking about $10,000 a month in gross sales. How many conversations do you need to be in and how many sales do you need to close to hit that number? At the $10,000 a month, let's just assume $97 average ticket on your transaction. So low ticket, okay? We can work the same numbers with a high ticket, say $500 or $2,000. But if we use $97 as the average ticket, that person has to close 104 sales a month at $97. That generates $10,088 a month. That means with 20 working days a month, that person has to close 5.2, let's round it up to 6 sales a day. So if a person needs to close 6 sales in working days, 20 working days a month, how many people do you need to present to in order to close that number of sales? So if we go with the 3 to 5% average closing ratio, if you're closing at 3% of the people you present to, that means you've got to present to 200 people a day. So here it becomes a challenge. If there's no list in place of ideal consumers, then how do you get in front of 200 people a day? And this is one of the main reasons why small businesses will go in business and then go out of business, because I've been in so many conversations where the clarity of thinking, just as it relates to the numbers, that really clarify what kind of activity has to be in place in order to achieve those goals. Oftentimes, the clarity is not there. We know that we need to generate this revenue, but in terms of, well, what do I need to do specifically? Okay? Now, if we go with a higher price point, just to illustrate, let's say the average ticket is $500. That's 20 sales a day. That's one sale every working day of the month. So now you're talking about, if you're closing at 3%, you need to present to 33 people a day. Or if you're closing at 5%, you need to be presenting to 20 people a day. Now, here's the question. If you evaluate in your mind, is it safe to assume that if you get the right offer in front of 20 to 33 people at a $500 price point, if you got in front of 20 to 33 of your ideal prospects every day, could you close one out? Okay, absolutely. And so when we say yes to that, then it becomes absolutely clear. Well, if I had a list of people that I could get in front of, it'd be easy for me to hit my goals. And then once I know what my numbers are, how many people I need to get in front of, what my personal closing ratio is. I may close 3%, but Regina, she may get in front of the same number of people of her ideal consumer. She may be closing at 8%. But if we don't know and track our numbers, then it's really hard to set our goals. Okay? So, the only thing I'm trying to really clarify right now is why it's so critical to have a list.